Welcome to the More Than Pizza podcast, where we exist to walk with parents in the discipleship of their kids and offer more than just pizza. We are a group of youth ministers that are all friends. Some of us went to college together. And we just felt like, hey, we want to get together and just create some content that helps parents disciple their kids, get them to know what it is that we're doing and what some things that we believe maybe that's something that they don't really know. But so to start things off, I'm going to throw it over to JB to tell us more about why we're doing this and what's going on.
Yeah, so I think we are just doing what everybody else does in their spare time, and we're starting a podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be pretty popular these days.
We're the last youth group.
Yeah, that's right.
We're the last student ministers to do one. I think everyone else has.
I think it's kind of a credential for the job. But no, seriously, we all have a heart for teenagers, obviously, but in that we ultimately have a heart for the families, right? And so our goal is to see families who are walking with the Lord together. And as we talk about student ministry, there's a lot of different ideas out there of what student ministry is. And even just sitting here with us, like we can talk about a lot of different things that come into play when we talk about student ministry. But there used to be this old saying, and I really don't think it's there as much anymore. I think it has kind of died down, but there used to be the saying that, student ministry is just about a bunch of pizza parties and dodgeball, but the reality is it is more than pizza. There's some great truths that we get to communicate every week to teenagers. And for those of us who have grown up following the Lord and followed the Lord in your teenage years, I think we can all look back and look at moments in our teenage lives that are still impactful for us today. And so that's our job. Like that's our mission as student ministers, is to instill great truth and great practices and disciplines in our teenagers so that they live for the Lord, beyond high school. And we can't do it on our own. We've got to do it arm in arm with the parents, with the families. And so that's the purpose of this podcast. We want the parents to be encouraged and the students to be challenged to walk the walk that Christ has called you to in community with the closest knit and most intentional community that God has given us, and that's the family.
The biggest exodus in the church happens when a student graduates from high school.
That's right.
More students leave the church at that point and never return, and our hope is to see these students stay involved in church, in their relationship with the Lord, and continue that growing.
Yeah, we want this to be a resource for parents. And a way for us to provide more and other resources to parents. This is something that I think all of us do individually within our churches, but that it's also something that it's an extra thing that we can do for our families within our churches, and also other people that aren't in our churches that this might come across. It's something that maybe parents could share with other parents when they're on a sporting field or court or something like that.
And let's be honest, I think it's going to help us be better at our jobs as we get together on a regular basis to talk about, hey, what does this look like? I've yet to figure it out. I'm sure, y'all are much more smarter than I am, so y'all probably have. But I've yet to figure out what student ministry really looks like sometimes. So I'm excited what this can mean just even for me in my own personal life.
Yeah, you are the baby of the group.
That's not true.
That'd be me.
There's two people in here who are younger than me.
Yeah.
Well, you're the only one that can't grow facial hair.
Okay. Personal attacks right off the bat. Our first episode is going to be about humility and kindness and love towards your neighbor.
Mm-hmm. It's important. Yeah. So we'll go around and introduce ourselves. And so, Corey, why don't you start?
Okay. My name is Corey. I've been in student ministry for 6 years. It's been an awesome change in my pace. Originally, I was a mechanical engineer, but God called me to ministry. And so after that, being where God has you means so much more than anything in the world. It means more than any money that you can make. And seeing students grow in Christ and continually seek after Him, which is just really rewarding in the long run. And so, like, while I'm in student ministry, we've seen just students surrender to ministry, seen students that have grown, and we've seen families that have gotten to grow closer together over Christ, which is just an awesome idea to see, because we see how Christ ordained a family. And then as they ordained the family, that allowed for discipleship to continue to grow even when the church isn't present at that moment. So that's a little bit about me. I guess we'll pass it on to Austin.
This has been, I guess, year 17 is what I'm in student ministry, and I've been enjoying it ever since God called me to it. And just to think along the sides of the call to ministry, I remember battling it. I remember saying, you know what, that's not what I'm called to do. I remember changing my major several times in college, because I was in college whenever I was called to the ministry, and just kind of walking away from it until God said, yeah, it's time for you to do what you're called to do. And so student ministry is what I've been called to for many years now. I've enjoyed it, and there's no way I could do this without my wife, Jade, and we've been married for several years now, and we have 2 kids, Caden and Della, and so us in this together through this entire thing is something that is crucial, and so as a family, we enjoy doing ministry and love it, and so we're looking forward to what we try to pinpoint to is that we come alongside families. I mean, just like what we're all talking about here, as the parents are the primary disciple maker in their family, and so us as student pastors, I'm just looking forward to us coming alongside them to partner with them with their children. So I know with Lifeway, they did a research that those that did not walk away from their faith, and they said what is something that was in there that stuck. And almost everybody said that they had at least 5 mentors in their life, other than the youth pastor. Mm-hmm. And so it's so important for us. So I'm looking forward to tackling several subjects, sending it to the home, and seeing families be that primary, the parents be that primary disciple maker in their home. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how we can do that, getting together and learning from each other as well. And so that's a little bit about me. Chris, what you got?
Yes, I'm Chris. This is year 18 in student ministry for me. As Austin was saying, I kind of had a similar calling to ministry. The Lord was calling me to ministry as I graduated high school, and it was not something that I felt equipped that I could do. I did not think that somebody who had my education level as a high school senior could get up and talk in front of people. And God said, I just want to use you. Just trust me and obey. And
you
after
did graduate,
a little battle, I did graduate. Yes.
Okay.
How many years did you say you've been in ministry?
18.
18, okay.
The Lord finally just said, look, this is what you're called to do. And I gave in to that calling, and it was a completely overwhelming thing in my life. But through the Lord using me, I've got to see students grow. I've got to see students surrender into ministry, serving, taking them on mission trips, watching them grow, become soul winners. So my heart is to see students engage in their relationship with Christ, that it's not just I walked an aisle and said a prayer and I'm okay, but that they have a growing relationship. But this is something that I can't do alone, that these guys in this room can't do alone. So we're encouraging parents to be this major role model in their student's life, to be the one that shows them Christ. And we want to come beside them and help them do that through this podcast and through other avenues of our ministry that we do. So we're looking forward to tackling a lot of different topics here. I hope that you will stay with us on this ride.
Hey guys, I'm Jacob. I've been serving in the ministry for 8 years. I've loved every bit of it. Married to my wife Kayla, and then we have 2 girls we adopted and a little boy. And so, man, love my children and just, man, love being a parent. But even so, I love serving in the ministry. And so my story is a little bit different. And so growing up, I really wasn't super involved with the church much at all. But then the Lord was just working my heart. People invested in me in a local church. Literally, the only reason why I went to church was right down the road. And so I was able to walk there. And then the Lord worked in my heart my senior year. Once I got saved and accepted Christ. And so from there, accepting that ministry and call on my life. And so from there, following the Lord and then called into student ministry and been in student ministry since, serving in part-time now, full-time ministry. But just really just see how the Lord worked all that out from growing in a family that doesn't follow Christ and into this role now. So it looks different for me. I love working with students, love reaching out to students, just knowing what they're facing, but loving them, and no matter their home situation. And so whether a kid's coming with a home that is dedicated to the Lord, or maybe that kid that's coming that, is coming just because he wants to know more, trying to identify what it looks like to follow Christ. And so I'm serving in that different way. And so I'm going to pass it on to JB.
JB.
Well, I don't know if you can pass it on JB or not. I think he got choked on his water.
Like, I was prolonging that, just wait until you catch his breath.
Man, something got caught in the throat there.
He's getting emotional.
Not sure. Yeah, I'm just so passionate. No, well, my name's JB, and I have been in ministry for about 8 years, full time. I have thoroughly enjoyed being in student ministry. One of the cool things when I look back on my life, I surrendered to ministry when I was 13. I was in the 8th grade when I surrendered to
Did you
ministry.
know what you were getting yourself into?
I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but
I didn't
at
know
the
that.
same time, it's really cool. Like, I jokingly, like, if somebody says, "Oh, like, how's your day going?" Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, just living the dream," and like, kind of in a joking way, but in a lot of ways, I am. Like, even as a teenager, I was like, man, how cool is it going to be, like, to be in the realm of student ministry one day? Now, it's been a lot more challenging than I originally thought it would be, but it's been so good. It's been cool to see the Lord work and move. One of my favorite things in student ministry is I love seeing teenagers get it, where everything clicks, everything makes sense. They fall in love with Jesus, and they just begin to live for him and seek his will for their life. And it's just really cool to see that. But one of the things that I've learned in my time in ministry that I'm sure all of y'all have come to a point of realizing at some point, that my younger self, when I surrendered to the ministry, didn't really know that this would be a huge component of student ministry, is that student ministry is so much about the parents and the family. We cannot minister to these students on our own. We can't, disciple these students all on our own. It's a team effort. We can do those things. We love to do those things, but it takes more. And so I am learning, what does that look like? How do we pour into the parents and encourage the parents? But I cannot deny how important it is to pour into the parents. And so I'm excited for this podcast, just for the fact that I hope that it spurs some conversations. Like, our goal is not to do anything great in what we say, but to hopefully just give you some directions so that you can run with it. And so I'm really excited to see what happens and to spend time with y'all and to just know that it's more than pizza, even though we don't have any pizza here. So it's kind of ironic to say that it's more than
we
pizza.
We got to start bringing pizza to
when we don't even have pizza to start with.
JB, did you surrender to ministry because you thought it was just going to be pizza and dodgeball?
There was definitely an element of like, man, this is going to be so fun. You get to go on trips all the time. You
Play
get to have
games.
lock-ins all the time. This is going to be awesome. And then
You
I
still
turned
do?
like,
dangerous stuff, not getting.
and then I turned like 24, and I was like, I was so dumb. Like, this, I need
You
sleep.
still do
Nothing what I
lock-ins?
thought.
Kind of, in a way,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm out of that.
I've never been claimed to be the smartest. That sentence doesn't even make sense.
Well, you
but
said don't expect anything great. They'll figure that out in this
Absolutely.
intro.
keep the
right
bar
here.
low. Keep the bar low.
Well, I think you brought it up, though, with it. We've all done the things in student ministry that we're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll finish this out. I'm Ray. I've been in ministry 17 years as well. I was called into ministry in college. I would have been the perfect beach bum. Like I had no plans.
I can
was
see
I could
that.
see that.
Yeah.
I can see
I can see you
that.
living in your
Sure.
parents' like
He lives
I
in a
was-
van
garage.
below
Especially the
bridge down
bum
here.
part.
Yeah, I was like, I had no plans. I was just going, just doing stuff. And then finally, my academic advisor was like, you have to pick something. Like, we can't have you take classes if you don't know some sort of direction. And I was like, why? I'm paying you. Like, it doesn't, like, just let me take all of them. I don't understand. So it was one of those things of like, I just kind of asked people like, "Hey, what do you do for a living? And what do you do for a living?" Because I had no idea. Now I worked a lot of just jobs, but I just had no real direction. And so, my freshman year, when I was about to go off into summer, my advisor came back to me and was like, "No, seriously, I have to write something down. You can't be undecided for your whole life." And so then I was like, well, I guess I'll pray about it. And
That was a good idea.
Good
Yeah.
answer. Good answer.
yeah, and,
Dangerous, but good
well,
answer.
everyone always told me, "Oh, you have plenty of time. You have plenty of time." So I took it. I took their advice. But no, I was supposed to go back to school. No, I went home one weekend. No, I needed my clothes washed, so I went to my mom, and I would
still do
normally-
that?
still do that. I needed. So I normally would go back to college right after Sunday morning service. But for some reason, I just decided, no, I'm going to stay and listen. I think our youth minister at the time was preaching. I went up during the invitation. I stayed up there so long that the worship minister just like told everybody to leave, and I stayed at the altar. And that's when God called me in to the ministry. But yeah, so that's kind of my story. I'm looking forward to continuing this podcast. I might kick some other people off of it, like JB.
This group
but
may
anyway.
dwindle down before it's
Yeah.
over with.
But anyway, appreciate y'all for listening. We have some episodes that's already out by the time this one comes up. So thank you guys for listening. We have an email at morethanpizzapodcast@gmail.com. An Instagram page. What is it? Just More Than Pizza Podcast?
More Than Pizza Podcast.
Yeah, so you can give us a follow and a like there. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to us or a topic, maybe you're a parent and there's something that you really want us to look at and discuss, and maybe something that will help you and other parents as well. Just
Or
send
maybe
us
you're a
that.
student and you want some deeper insight into an aspect of following Christ. You know, we want this to reach the whole family, not just the parents, but we do hope that it'll spur some cool conversations.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening.